Words are powerful in the sense that it helps you shape the way you view yourself and how you view the world around you. But the problem is when we start to use words as labels for ourselves and our environment. Last week I talked about laziness, and today I wanted to talk a little bit more on burnout and what these two really mean and how we can understand the intricacies of the two situations and how we can recover from being burnt out if it's even possible to force yourself to recover from it in the first place. Hi guys, welcome to Half Bloom. This is episode 8 already, and I am your host, Nadia. The major difference I feel between the lack of motivation and desire versus being burnt out is the fact that you have absolutely no energy to be put out. It's not a matter of where you should gear that energy and how much you have it in you. I think when you're burnt out, it means you are depleted and you can't fill up the tank to be able to find that motivation and desire at all. And we make it worse with the labels we use for ourselves. We fall into the trap of saying, I am lazy, I am sensitive, I am this way because of whatever reason, I need to fix it, I know it's a problem, but I am like this. I am a negative person. I am a lazy person. I don't have much of a passion. I'm not as talented. We have all these labels that we put onto ourselves, which hinders us from actually thinking in a growth mindset way to be able to get out of that system and trap we've put ourselves in. And a lot of the times I think burnt out is a matter of not knowing where to put the care. You might care about a particular project or your business, but when you hit that burned out moment, you know how important it is to you and you know how much you have to get out of that situation, but you don't know how to because you have zero energy to be able to put your thinking into anything to get anything done. So if this sounds like you, I hope we can talk through some of these issues that we may present ourselves with, and I hope this episode will give you some amount of clarity and maybe a little bit of compassion. I wanted to start off with a little bit of random stories of the day before we get into this heavy topic of laziness and burnt out. And of course, some lighthearted things with this story jar as well. We haven't touched on it, but I feel like more and more people are starting to write it. They are looking at the little note that I have over there on the table about this podcast, and more people are willing to write more. So I'm excited to talk a little bit more of the lighthearted ways of life with that. But of course, the coffee today it looks like a very simple latte, but let me tell you, it's actually very special to me. It's an Olay, but it's with my hand drip. So I use the flannel cloth drip to do a hand drip. I iced the essence of it, and made it into ice, and then I put in milk with it. So the ice was essentially the coffee that was iced, and so it didn't have any water ice in it, but it kind of melted and it was a little too strong for me, so I decided to put some water ice in it. So it's probably going to be watered down, but the cleanness in the mouthfeel I think is like no other, especially when I use this particular the strong essence like Dutch or the hand drip, where you have a very thick concentration rather than a watery pour over, which I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I'm just saying that there are some certain qualities that work with other combinations more so than others. So I love this so much. It's also always very chocolatey and very smooth like butter all the time. So that's the coffee that I'm drinking today. Anyway, so one thing that I wanted to talk about before, do you guys remember crazy hair days? I literally just had this moment of remembering that every year in middle school, or not middle school, probably elementary school and middle school, we had a crazy hair day. I don't know if you had this where you guys are from, but it was such a culture thing to have whatever days. It was walk to school day, it was crazy hair day, pajama day, and I had so much fun doing these crazy events to school. It was kind of one of those moments where you could actually relax and not have to care about how you look for that particular day, and crazy hair day was one of them. I don't think I necessarily ever did anything special except for maybe you have that spray paint kind of thing for your hair, and that was the extent of what I did, probably tie it up in some sort of way. But I started thinking about this because when I start working and I get all sweaty, I tie my hair up all the time here, and then of course, sometimes when, my head starts to hurt from the hairband, I loosen it up. But my hair always expands out like this, like a little fan on the back, like a broom. And I don't know how to recover from that. Once it's done and it's marked, then there's no coming back, there's no return, and I just have to like tie my hair up for the rest of the day. But it got me thinking about like how as adults can we apply that crazy hair day into our world. And I think having a cafe allows for that to happen, where you're allowed to do fun things and like have adults participate and do weird things. And so especially here at Coffee Mate for Happiness, we are trying to do a lot more like cultural events. Like we did one like movie thing about 2 months ago now, so it's actually last month because it was in July. And next month we are actually hosting a photo gallery. So really, really cool story, real quick, is that the photographer actually owns a gym near this area, and he just takes photos as his hobby. He loves it incredibly much. He does a lot of landscape photos, and the theme of this gallery is moment. And he wants to talk about moments that we enjoy together, moments that we share together. And I think it goes along well with coffee shops very, very much. And so we're going to be plastering this wall with his artwork, which I'm super excited about, to be able to like plaster a lot more, fun and beautiful photos on this wall where you guys can also see as well. So I will keep you guys updated on Instagram, and also I'll show you guys, I guess next week or next week as well, if you guys want to do like a mini like cafe tour. I think that'll be super exciting for you to see, for those watching on YouTube. And he's going to be selling goods, like he has like postcards and key rings. So with him, we've created this blend, and we're planning to do it Dutch coffee style at the cafe. So we're trying to figure out like a menu for that as well. There's no like fee or anything. It's just kind of like using this space as his like interior decoration gallery spot. And I hope that his customers and his family and friends will really enjoy being able to come here and see his artwork. He's also created like a music playlist for the photos as well. I'm excited to be able to see how all of this gets put together in like a 4D experience. And this is kind of what I meant by allowing adults to play. So kind of slowly moving back into today's topic of laziness and burnt out and motivation, or the lack thereof, is that when you feel like you have no motivation or desire, or you feel burnt out, if you can have the luxury to kind of live vicariously through someone and watch someone, their eyes sparkle and find a lot of joy in whatever they're doing, I think that's really special to be able to participate in that and kind of give them that energy. And in the process, I feel like we're going to be able to find our own energy again in the process by helping them out and seeing where that the collaboration can take them. And so in the process, it kind of helps us to see what makes them sparkle. Like, what if I were in that situation, what would that look like for me? If I were to do something that this person is doing, how could I go about it in my own way? And so it kind of allows you to reflect on yourself when you're watching someone else live their own passion projects. So I am hoping that this opportunity will not only allow myself to be able to see how one can take this passion hobby and put it into like this grand scale of an event, and how he goes very strategically and planned through with this event as well. That was kind of like a promotional thing for the cafe, and also something that I think is what we want to continue to do here, especially at Coffee Mate, is to bring in this kind of cultural experience and allow people to play. Because adult life is boring, and we all need that kind of moment to be able to like enjoy ourselves and really get out that kid version, that child version of ourselves. So before I get deeper into burnt out and how we can recover from it, I wanted to talk really quickly about labels. I was talking to a friend recently, and one of the things that I realized that I had been doing for a very, very long time, that we are all told to stop doing, is falling into the label trap. And what I mean by that is, like I said in the intro, we have this moment of saying like, I am a lazy person, I am too sensitive, I know that I shouldn't be doing this, I know that I am burnt out. But using these bad labels on ourselves actually feeds the problem more. When you say, I should fix it, I need to do something about it, it doesn't tell you why, it doesn't tell you how. So you're just complaining to yourself, which feeds the problem further and doesn't get you anywhere. You just feel bad about it, and you're adding shame and guilt to your exhaustion that's already so big. And when you're saying you're too sensitive, when you say maybe you're weak, you are invalidating the feelings and your bodily messages. Sometimes, yes, maybe that is true, but that doesn't take away from the fact that maybe you need to look at it in a different light. Yes, you might be weak, but that's because you are not prepared to be able to withhold the information that your body is giving you, withhold the information of what it means to be not sensitive. When you are overwhelmed and you need a break, there is a bigger reason behind all of that. Yes, it is true. You are overwhelmed. You need a break. You're carrying too much and you're dismissing it. But at the same time, why is that true? And what if it's not supposed to be that heavy in the first place? What if you're making it heavier than it really needs to be? But because you've made it heavier, it is that overwhelming and it's going to hurt your body because you are so stressed out. That's why I was also hospitalized last week, because yes, I was pushing my limits. Yes, I was hurting myself. But in reality, when you look at the results of what I was doing, have I accomplished a lot? I would say no. But the problem there was because I was running on some kind of fuel. I knew I had to work, but I wasn't working efficiently. And that's why I felt burnt out as well. But more on a little bit about how I recovered from that a little bit later. Yes, so I do think that being able to be aware of you being burnt out is a part of the step. You can describe it, you can name it, you can pinpoint it. But that doesn't magically refill your tank. The danger is no matter what group your feelings are in, whether it's exhaustion, no motivation, no desire, laziness, or burnt out, if you are stuck in that situation and you keep misnaming it and you keep adding extra bad labels to it, the more you get stuck in it. Try thinking about these questions. Number 1, if you had unlimited energy right now, what would you do? If you have something that you're doing already, if you had that unlimited energy, would you still want to continue to do this? If it's yes, then you're burnt out. If it's no, then maybe you are trying to figure out the meaning instead. So you're a little in the before stages of being burnt out. Number 2 is, do you always feel tired and drained? Because if so, you are probably burnt out as well. And if you have no way of recovering from this fatigue, you are probably burnt out. Number 3, are you avoiding this because you don't really care about it, or you care about it so much that your perfectionism is kicking into place? And does it feel incredibly overwhelming? Because if it does feel overwhelming and you feel stuck, then you're probably burnt out as well. Really answer these questions, because this is going to help understand that you do have a why or versus you don't have a why. If you do have a why, then trying to understand that this is burnt outness and trying to recover from that, the following steps that we'll talk about are going to be a little bit more applicable and helpful. Because if it is a lack of motivation, trying to figure out your why is going to be more important. Try to find something more meaningful to do, even if it's a small thing, and let that momentum build over time. But if it's burnt out, you do have a why. It's not really a matter of trying harder to move forward. It's to be able to not feel guilty about the amount of overwhelming you've done to yourself. And I think this is the difference. When you're not motivated, you don't really have a concrete why, and you don't have a starting motivator. But when you're burnt out, you've had that starting motivator, but it's just that you forced yourself these labels, you forced yourself these actions that you are so exhausted and lost and not knowing what to do. And so you might or might not have a why at this point, because if you're so burnt out, then you kind of lose purpose, and you might actually not have a why strong enough to pull through that. But at the same time, your why might be covered up and piled under debris of you forcing yourself to do something that was not efficient and was not producing results, was not allowing yourself to feel confident in the actions that you were taking, because you weren't able to see any improvement. You weren't able to see that you were moving forward. So resetting your priorities here, allowing yourself to feel guilt and really take in constructive criticism is, I think, really important here. It's impossible when you're in it to be able to do that, but the only way out is through not running fast, but taking pauses along the way. And when you are burnt out, you have a strong tendency to not want to listen to what other people say to you, but that's actually when I think it's important to ask yourself, okay, my friends and family are telling me that I am this way or that way, or they have these kinds of concerns with me. Why would that be true? What is my current situation? What is it that I want to do but I am not doing? And why is that the case? Am I being defensive about something? Am I really not motivated to do something? Is this really not my dream? Is this really not my dream? Answering these like deep questions within you, not really trying to look at the world from your eyes only, but how the world sees you will kind of give you a more rounded opinion or rounded situation understanding of yourself, how you've been acting and how you've been reacting as well. One of the things that I think a lot of my listeners will understand is, or at least have kind of caught on, is that I've been burnt out with social media. I have been burnt out with creating content. And I think that's why I decided to sit down and talk a little bit more through podcasts, because it would allow me to be a little bit more okay with talking in more depth. And being able to talk through with you guys gives me more of an opportunity to understand my own thoughts and kind of gather them for the week and see if you guys can relate to any of these issues. Because the more and more I kind of deal with life, the more I realize that a lot of the issues that we have with ourselves or the problems that we go through are so complicated, and it's not as simple as these labels of it's because you're lazy, you don't have your why, you don't have your passion, whatever it may be, you're burnt out. And yes, of course, we all try to go to therapy for it, but at the same time, it's nice and helpful to be able to have like that toolbox and arsenal of questions to ask ourselves what the problems may be. One mindset that I found that has been helpful is understanding that when you are burnt out and you are stuck in that phase for a very, very long time, I think you have a point where you realize that like you are just sick of being burnt out. You are sick of being in the same place over and over and over again, and being able to find that pause to be able to take a step back and not do anything, I think is also just as important. But the combination of the two is, one, you do need to step back and keep asking yourself these questions. And number two is to be able to understand that you are going to be sick of burning out. One thing that I like to tell people all the time, for those like people who think a lot, is if you are someone who thinks too much and you keep telling yourself, oh, my brain is too complicated, I need to stop thinking about all of these and worry about these and have my mind running 24/7, the best thing that I tell them is just let your mind run. You're going to worry, you're going to think about so many different scenarios, you're going to regret so many different things that at a certain point, you're going to be so exhausted from thinking too much that your brain is just going to shut off. And for those kinds of people who kind of run on a high with yourself that much, you have to get to the point where you just keep burning out and falling down to be able to realize, I don't like where I am anymore. I don't like this situation and I need to do something about it, because that I need to do something about it is going to be one of the strongest motivators to finally get you out of that situation. Because from that moment on, you can start seeing your situation from a third person point of view of yourself, to be able to say, hey, okay, so these are the things that I've been doing until now. That might be why I've been burnt out. And that is kind of why I'm in this bad, crappy situation. So what is it now that I need to do so that I can take myself out of that situation? Those answers aren't going to come easy to you because you've been burnt out and you've been stuck for who knows how long in this situation. So being able to pull yourself out is not going to be easy. But taking one step at a time of understanding, okay, so this particular action gave me this stuckness and it didn't improve. Or you did something with your 100% energy and it still wasn't producing the right results, at least you know that you can put in some kind of energy, even while you're burnt out, into that project. What is that you can still have the energy for? And how can you turn it and change it so that you are testing different ways? And as long as you find yourself testing and trying and working with yourself, you're going to be able to find a point where you feel a little bit more confident and stronger about a skill or landing like a moment of better feelings, for lack of a better phrase. Once you start finding these small accomplishments, you're going to feel a little bit more confident to be able to build yourself again from a lower standard for yourself. Especially if you've been running on a high and have high expectations of yourself, and you knew that you were able to do such big things when you were younger. As an adult, the more and more I realize is that when you're fighting with society and especially when you're doing a business in this competitive world, you're faced with a lot more friction that you need to recover from and pull through stronger to be able to get the same results that you might have when you were in school. So I'm hoping that this story jar will actually give us a little bit more of that tinge of motivation, a tinge of happy feeling, or trying to relate with someone else to be able to understand that we are not alone in this world. I have quite a bit. I don't know which one's new anymore. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna just dump it all out. I'm gonna move my computer over a little bit and we'll check the storage jar. Okay, so I did read that one a long time ago. Okay, so I'm gonna read this one in Korean and then we'll translate it. It says, 안녕하세요. 저는 최근 졸업을 맞이한 박사뷰예요. 오랜 시간 동료로 함께 했던 저희는 곧 졸업과 결혼을 함께 앞두고 있답니다. 최근 남편이 수술도 하며 함께 많은 일들을 겪고 더 따뜻한 배우자이자 친구가 되어가고 있어요. 결혼식 전 남편에게 의미 있는 선물과 함께 고마움을 전하고 싶은데 뭐가 좋을까요? 그리고 축하 인사도 함께 전해주세요. 일단 먼저 너무 축하드립니다. 너무 예쁘네요. 진짜 너무 예뻐. Okay, so I'm going to translate it real quick in English so that you guys understand what's going on. It says, hello. They just graduated, but they have been colleagues for a very long time. And along with this graduation, they are getting married. Her husband recently had a surgery, and so they kind of went through a lot together, but he's such a reliable partner and friend, more and more so. I want to give a meaningful present to my husband and show my gratitude as well, but what would be a good present? And please, we would love a congratulations message. So huge congratulations. It's just so beautiful to see how they are becoming a deeper, partner and friend with one another. I don't know if I'm reading this too late, if you've already found a present for your 남편, but you know what? I'm sure you know best what kind of gift your husband likes, whether it's like an actual physical gift or a memento or like an experience. For example, even if it's like an outing, something that you haven't done, I feel like something a lot of people would do for like anniversaries or weddings is something that indicates like lifelong promise or a lifelong dedication. I think something to do with the promise of I will be there by your side no matter what is that unconditional love. Something that can showcase that is important as well. Photo memories or an experience that you're never going to forget, or even like a small gift with some kind of engravement on it, I think would be really nice. Engravements are also, I think, always a plus to be able to have, or something maybe that you can put in your house that you will use on a day-to-day basis. If your man is a practical dude, that may also be nice if any of that helped. But once again, congratulations. And they wrote a PS. 커피가 너무 좋아요. 번창하세요. They wrote, P.S. The coffee is great. Hope you guys succeed. So the next one here says, 학생을 벗어나는 시기에 와 있는 사람입니다. 만 꾸면 다 될 줄 알았는데 제 미래 앞에 현실이라는 벽을 느끼는 중이에요. 어른이 된다는 건 이렇게 쓸쓸한 건가요? It relates so much to what I've been talking about. So in English, they wrote, I have just left my student career. Before, I thought as long as you dream, everything will work out. But in front of me, there's this wall called reality. And I've been feeling that a lot more. Is becoming an adult something so 쓸쓸해, which means empty, lonely. And unfortunately, yeah, I know that I think there's a misconception here is that people think that when you dream and when you're hit with reality, you have to give up your dream. But it's actually the opposite. When you are hit with reality, your dream needs to be stronger than ever before. But that dream now has a little bit more of a concrete figure. When you dream, it's an end goal that you kind of imagine yourself to be put in. But you kind of don't realize the steps that need to be taken to get to that point. But it still remains your dream. It's just you have to go through things that you want to do and you don't want to do in order for you to get to that dream. Yes, it's important that 꿈만 있으면 더 돼요. But 그 사이사이에 필요한 것들이 더 보이기 시작하는 거죠. The more you start to understand your dream, the more you realize there are things that you need to do to attain it. And I think that's why you're stuck with this wall, but it's not necessarily a wall. It's just these challenges that you have to overcome. Like, if you want to fight the boss, you have to kill all the little minions in between to be able to get there. And that's something that I realize is very different from when you're a student versus when you're an adult. And again, it kind of relates to the whole idea of like lack of motivation and burnt out, is that you get easily burnt out and you feel like you don't have a motivation, or you feel like you're lazy because you think you have your why, but maybe it's not strong enough. Maybe it's not your dream, or you thought it was your dream, but all of these little obstacles in between you don't want to do, and you have to be able to reconcile with yourself to be able to fight those to be able to get your dream. So it's one or the other. Either it's not your dream, or it's strong enough for your dream that you have to realize and just take in the fact that there are little obstacles in the way that need to be cleared for you to get to your dream. So I am a strong proponent of, as long as you have a dream and you believe that strongly, then nothing and no one should get in your way, but they will, and you need to fight them. And that's what I think it means when you're an adult, and that's why you feel lonely, because you have to fight alone. Before, everything was easy, it just kind of came to you, but now it's not. I hope that helped. Oh, I already read this. So that's it. So as always, I have 3 questions for you guys to think about for this week related to being burnt out. Number 1 is, when you say you are lazy, when you say you're burnt out, I should fix myself, I am too sensitive, I am problematic, I am always so negative, I am depressed, I don't know how to fix things, I don't know how to, whatever, all these labels. What are you actually feeling underneath all of it? Is it boredom? Is it fear? Is it exhaustion? Is it loneliness? What is it? If you had unlimited energy tomorrow, what would you do first? This separates burnout versus just disinterest. Number 3, what did you do today? Write it all down and reflect on every single moment in your day, and then think about what you say you want to do, what you say is your dream. Did any of the things that you did today contribute to that dream? And if so, how much of it? Do you feel good about that? And if not, then is your dream really your dream? Sit with those and see where those take you. Thank you guys again for listening to another chaotic episode of Half Bloom, and I will see you guys next week.